Being a professional athlete in hockey has a slew of perks that comes with it. Status, influence, but most importantly, in the context of this video, money. As it's pretty typical for an NHL player to retire with career earnings that amount to millions of dollars. Unfortunately though, not every player has been able to manage their money the right way. In this video, we're going to go over 4 NHL players who at one point in time became bankrupt. But before we do, if you're new to this channel, I'd love it if you could subscribe for more NHL themed content. And with that, here are 4 NHL players who went from being millionaires to bankrupt. Drafted 46th overall in 1992 by Detroit, Darren McCarty, you could say, was at the right place at the right time when it came to success. As a forward, was able to be a part of the Red Wings organization throughout multiple championships that included franchise greats like Nicklas Lidstrom, Pavel Datsyuk, Steve Yzerman, and more. Known largely for being the enforcer that you just didn't want to mess with on the team. Big Mac, as he was called, played with an edge that was infectious. And it was during this time he spent playing in the Motor City that McCarty earned millions. While taking inflation into account, according to Hockey's Own Plus, McCarty amassed $30,600,000 in total. However, things took a turn for the worse for McCarty financially during his stint with the Calgary Flames. In 2006, reports began to trickle in that he had filed for bankruptcy, according to documents from the U.S. Bankruptcy Court in Detroit. The documents entailed that he owed debts of $6.2 million and had assets equal to $1.9 million. Besides owing his debts to banks, law firms, credit card companies, and insurance companies, McCarty owned a decent amount to casinos, as a forward had racked up quite the tab of $185,000 that was split between casinos in Las Vegas and Detroit. McCarty's lawyer, Marty Fried, said that his client's divorce, which finalized in February of 2005, and the NHL lockout were largely to blame. For those who may not know, the NHL lockout transpired during the 2004-2005 season. Mainly this stemmed from the players not agreeing to the implementation of a salary cap. However, as most of us know, it was eventually introduced regardless. An article that I'll link below from the Hockey News really gave a glimpse into the headspace of McCarty at the time. Not only was he managing a career and playing hockey, but he was also the lead singer for a punk rock group, Grindr. Therefore, it's pretty easy to understand how McCarty could be pulled into the lifestyle he was living that involved, according to the article, drugs, excessive alcohol, and gambling. But unlike the other stories in this video, McCarty's ends on a good note. After realizing how much he had truly lost, including his high school sweetheart Cheryl, whom he divorced, and custody of his 4 kids, McCarty vowed to make a comeback. And that he did. Following 2 abysmal seasons with the Flames, McCarty signed a 2-way contract with the Wings and eventually earned a call-up in March of 2008. Fast forward to June of that year, and McCarty was able to secure his 4th Stanley Cup with the Wings. And for some, icing on the cake, or should I say cup, he and Cheryl remarried and haven't looked back since. Unlike the others on this list, Evander Kane gave NHL fans multiple reasons to dislike his antics, even before he went bankrupt. Pretty much from day one, once he arrived in Winnipeg, Kane crafted an image for himself that made him appear pretty egotistical. From flaunting his money on Instagram to disobeying team dress code rules, Kane went through some growing pains while in the public eye. Interestingly enough, some of the pictures I spoke of that rubbed Jets fans the wrong way were taken in Las Vegas. This was, for those who may not know, before the Vegas Golden Knights joined the league. We only can estimate that Kane was there with his wads of cash to do some lucrative gambling, but considering how much of a gambling addiction he developed later down the road, it's not so crazy to assume. After Kane's short stint in Buffalo didn't particularly work out, he was traded from there to San Jose. Following what the Sharks viewed as a productive sample size of games played by Kane, he was given a contract in 2018. The earnings that would be dispersed over a 7-year span would end up amounting to a total of $49 $29 million. But it wasn't long after he signed the biggest contract of his career that things began crashing down for the former 4th overall pick. In 2019, headlines began to circulate that Kane was being sued by the Cosmopolitan Casino in Las Vegas. According to an article which I'll link down below, court documents stated that Kane owned the casino for 8 different credits, aka markers in amounts between $20,000 and $100,000. Interestingly enough, these were taken out on or around April 15th of the same year, which coincided with when the Sharks were in Las Vegas for round 1 of the playoffs. Even though this lawsuit was eventually settled out of court, Kane wasn't finished making headlines for his financial woes. In January of 2021, Kane filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, a case that listed 47 different creditors. These sources included the IRS, banks, credit card companies, lawyers, and various individuals that he owed debts to. According to an article by The Athletic, the 27 loans that he took out with Centennial Bank in 2018 and 19 were used to pay off high-interest debt. This was also accumulated due to what the article describes as living an expensive lifestyle and also gambling. To further complicate the situation within the bankruptcy case was an outstanding lawsuit against Kane from Hope Parker, a woman who had previous sexual relations with the Vancouver native. Parker, according to sources, claimed that after he impregnated her, Kane stated that if she got an abortion, he would pay her $3 million as a reward for doing so. After he allegedly didn't keep up his end of the deal, Parker sued him for twice the amount. Parker sued him for twice the amount that he originally, according to her, would have paid. At that point in time in 2019, Kane had earned $52.9 million from his hockey career. After the bankruptcy proceedings concluded, the forward's assets were then liquidated as he was forced to start over. It's clear in this case that even though Kane was making millions playing hockey, that his lucrative lifestyle he was living eventually caught up with him. According to The Athletic, Kane's expenses per day had risen to a staggering total of over $91,000. Since there's obviously a lot more to this story that I haven't covered, if you're interested in further reading on Kane's previous financial troubles, I'm going to leave an article down below that goes into the bookie side of things. From 2005 up until 2014, Jack Johnson was known by most NHL fans largely for his friendship with Sidney Crosby. Drafted a few spots after Sid the Kid, Johnson learned what it was to be a pro while playing in Los Angeles. However, in 2012, Johnson was traded to Columbus, where he would remain for the next 7 seasons. Unfortunately, though, towards the midway point of his tenure with CBJ, Johnson hit rock bottom financially, as Aaron Portzline, who is the team reporter, released the tragic story that was at the time Johnson's reality. Johnson, who had earned over $18 million from his NHL career at that point, had filed for bankruptcy. And while every incident on this list is disheartening to hear, Johnson's is definitely the one that strikes the feels the most. It wasn't gambling or drugs or anything nefarious that brought Johnson to the hardest point in his life, but rather the 2 people who were supposed to have his best interests at heart, his own parents, Jack Sr. and Tina Johnson. Beginning in 2008, Johnson parted ways with his agent Pat Brisson, who has also represented Sidney Crosby. When Johnson was approaching the end of his contract with the Kings in 2011, he was searching for some direction and financial advice. That's when he decided not to find another agent, but to make his mother power of attorney, which gave her full control over his finances. This proved to be a detrimental mistake, as Tina borrowed at least $15 million in Jack's name against future earnings, according to the Dispatch. This included high-interest loans, as many as 18 in total, from non-conventional lenders. Due to his name being on the loans, Jack was sued for 3 different times for more than $6 million due to defaulting. Most of this came about due to his parents buying cars, houses, and taking expensive vacations. After filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, Johnson's earnings for the next 2 seasons were garnished and went towards paying off his debts. While yes, predatory lenders are partially to blame here, it's understandable as to why Jack cut off all contact with his parents afterwards.
Hey everyone, Alyssa Hope here. I promise we'll get back to the video, but first I need to remind you that I do have a face, and secondly, to stay hydrated. Liquid IV is the perfect thing to have around during the holiday season, especially as you're losing a lot of those valuable electrolytes. With 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink and a formula that hydrates you faster than water, why wouldn't you want Liquid IV in your back pocket? So right now, if you use my promo code AlyssaHope in all caps, that will get you 20% off your entire purchase plus free shipping. And if there's a sale going on, which there are a lot, especially during the holidays, you will still get free shipping regardless of if a sale is going on and you're going to get a greater percentage off, say 30%, 40%, whatever. Use my promo code. You will get that sale price and free shipping. So, I win, you win. Thank you all for watching. Now back to the video.
And finally, the most recent case on this list that made headlines was a peculiar situation that involved Robin Lehner. Lehner, who has become somewhat of a journeyman since entering the league in 2009, signed a contract with Las Vegas that first took effect in 2020. The netminder at the time was looked at as the most superior of choices when it came down to him or Marc-Andre Fleury. Looking back today, it's hard not to assume that the team's management has regretted this move, all things considered. Anyways, around the midway point of his 5-year, $25 million contract, Lehner filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. At the time, Lehner, along with his wife Danya, admitted to owing an upwards of $50 million to creditors. According to the documents filed, some of the creditors included doctors, banks, finance, and lending companies. However, the most peculiar of them all was the neglected payments for his collection of rare and poisonous snakes. Court documents also revealed that Lehner is also being sued in 3 different states. Some cases, according to the referenced article, have now been settled. Now, where this one gets even spicier is after Lehner formally filed for bankruptcy. Creditors such as the Aliyah Growth Fund claim that Lehner lied to them about his financial situation as he proceeded to take out various loans after filing for bankruptcy. So basically, the goaltender took out this $4.8 million loan stating that his financial situation was okay at the time. Because when you take out a loan, you have to fill out a lot of paperwork. Therefore, this creditor, along with others, brought the fraudulent activity to the court system in order to attempt to get their money back somehow. This is why in September of this year, a federal bankruptcy court judge granted an injunction to freeze the netminder's assets. Filings stated that in the 15 months since he filed for bankruptcy, Lehner had spent over $1.5 million on gambling, vacation, and luxury purchases. Due to this and other frivolous actions, Lehner and his wife will only have access to around $25,000 per month, which is to be used for personal living expenses, legal fees, and anything else that's absolutely mandatory. And in case this situation couldn't get any weirder, the Vegas Golden Knights revealed a bombshell once training camp kicked off this season. Even though the usual protocol for players who are on the LTIR is to report to training camp to validate that they're still injured, Lehner was exempt from doing this, according to GM Kelly McCrimmon. He continues to be unfit to play, McCrimmon says. There are unique circumstances surrounding the situation that the NHL and the NHLPA and the club are currently working through. Collectively, we are assessing our next steps, and when we will have more to say, we will. At the time that I'm making this video, Lehner is and presumably will remain on the Knights' books on LTIR until his contract expires next year. It is important to note that Lehner has been open about his struggles with mental health and bipolar disorder. Therefore, it's possible that the mismanagement of his finances could have been attributed in part to the manic stages of the disorder. However, it obviously does not condone fraudulent behavior in any way. In conclusion, it'll be very interesting to see how Lehner's situation plays out and where he will go from here. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you could subscribe to my channel for future uploads on various NHL topics. If you're already subscribed and enjoying my content on the regular, then I'd love to invite you to become a patron. My patrons have been so supportive in helping me afford the software that it takes to make these videos, and I can't thank them enough. For just the cost of a cup of coffee per month, you can receive videos up to weeks in advance and free of ads. There's also monthly shoutouts, unseen analytics, and bonus content that I offer as well. If you'd like to join for free and still receive video previews before everyone else, there's that option as well. Simply click the link below to get started. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.